Greetings. Thank you once again for joining us on our video of Contextual Discipleship. This week I'm going to talk about a phrase, and it's called, "We talk a lot about love, but see little agape." So if you're a fan of music like me, I'm a huge fan of Bob Marley, and the One Love song, it just sounds really good, and it's just sort of a good beat and rhythm to it, so I really enjoy that. We talk about Philadelphia being the city of brotherly love. We talk about having love for one another. But in reality, we don't see a lot of agape out there. A lot of agape love, which the Bible says that we're to shoot for. G.K. Chesterton says this: "Love means to love that which is unlovable, or it has no virtue at all. Forgiving means to pardon that which is unpardonable, or it is of little virtue at all." So loving takes and requires sacrifice. It requires us to think and act and be like Jesus, and we cannot do that on our own. We are incapable of doing it apart from Jesus. So when we can look at someone that is unlovable and honestly say that we love them, this helps us to be more and more like Jesus. And frankly, it helps be a light and be salt in the world. 1 John says it in chapter 4 even better. Verse 18, it starts off, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love." So if you're fearing right now, and I've felt it, and many people are feeling it, whether it's the coronavirus, whether it's politics, whether it's finances. If you're fearing, the Bible points to that we need to be more perfected in love. And if you listen on Sunday morning, it's talking about building our faith and or trust to a deeper level. Verse 19 says, "We love because He first loved us." So the gospel penetrated initially, and so the point of everything is that our reason for love is that Jesus first loved us, and He cares for us. And so His love should permeate in and through us to every area of fear, to every area of doubt, to every area where we don't feel like loving. Now that might be a boss at work, it might be a fellow worker, it could be sometimes people in your home, that we are called to love and to love deeply. Verse 20 says, "If anyone says, 'I love God,'" and how many people do you know say, "Oh yeah, I love God"? Matter of fact, if you ask most people, maybe it's a little less these days, do they believe in God? "Oh yeah, I believe in God." Well, do you love God? Oh yeah, I love God because I believe in Him. It says, "If anyone says, 'I love God,' and hates his brother, he is a liar." So the Word says that if you say you love God and hate someone else, that you're a liar. And, first off, let's just take it to the house of God. To brothers and sisters that we disagree with maybe, that we have some things in, but is our love genuine? Is it real? Or is it convenient? Is it a love that maybe is not agape? Maybe we talk love, maybe it comes too loosely when I say I love my wife or I love my kids. But is it demonstrated by a self-sacrifice that first originated because Jesus sacrificed Himself for it? So he says, and if you hate your brother and you say you love God, you're lying. For he who does not love his brother, who he has seen, cannot love God, who he's not seen. So we're called on this earth not just to be Christians who love God. We are to love God. We're to love Him with all our heart, soul, strength, and mind, and we are to also love our neighbor as ourselves. This kind of love can only happen when it originates from God, but if we say we love God and we're not loving people, then there's something disconnected. And I'm not saying that there's not a love for God that's genuine in you, but maybe it's not been perfected. Maybe it needs something to dig in and boost it some more. Verse 21 said, "In this commandment we have from him, whoever loves God must also love his brother." So let's contextualize this for right now. How about that next door neighbor that irritates you? Or maybe a dog that's barking across the street? Or maybe someone comes by and litters on your lawn. Maybe like in my house, someone steals my apples from the tree. How are we loving? How about politics? We talked last week about politics versus policies. Do we allow politics to divide us and help and create a angst and a bitterness in us towards the world? So if that is you right now, if you've been feasting on whatever news cycle you listen to, and rage is forming, and fear is forming, and anger is forming, that is not from the Spirit of God. That is the spirit of the evil one. That is the evil one allowing our flesh to be irritated and just downright causing us to distance ourselves from what it means to truly experience agape. And if we haven't truly experienced agape, then we are not going to demonstrate agape around us, genuine love, and we're going to just go about our way, and we're going to hang with those who believe like we do, and we're going to not associate with those who are different. Now, it's very interesting that in the first century church, they had what was called an agape dinner. And at the agape dinner, people who were in that church, and at that time earlier on, it was house churches, and archaeology has proven that they built and remodeled houses to allow for more and more people. But they would have a service on Sunday morning, but in the evening they would have an agape dinner. And during this time, men and women would sit together. Rich and poor would sit together. Every class, let's just contextualize a little bit, Republicans and Democrats would sit together. And they would be reminded of the agape that loved them, and it would force them, not perfectly, but it would force them to dialogue and see that love conquers and covers a multitude of sins. Christian, is not our job to prove our point and to say how good we are. That's pride. Our job is to experience agape in Jesus Christ, experience in such a way that it permeates our soul and comes out naturally in the context with which we live, in your circles of influence. So are we meaning love when we say love? Do we really love God by His definition? And are we loving our neighbor and our brother and our sister? Love requires sacrifice. Church, it requires a sacrifice to experience what in the end is a tremendous blessing which gives us peace. Have a great week.
Francisco, work it out. Detroit, work it out. Chicago, work it out. Work it out. London, work it out.